For the records, can we know you, can we meet you, your name, your designation?
Okay, my name is Muhammad Lawal Abubakar, Coordinating Director, Executive Chairman's Group, Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Okay, sir. A lot of people don't know that there's something called personal income tax, especially those the those on the street. I'm talking of the market traders, the artisans, and all that. So, to a layman, what do you call a personal income tax?
Okay, thank you very much. I think before we go into answering what personal income tax is, it may be necessary to even know what a tax is. And sometimes you say, what is taxation? So tax, in simple time, means a compulsory levy imposed by government on certain on income, other income, on profit, or on consumption of goods or services in respect of individuals or entities. So what that means is, to narrow it to individual, it means where an individual earns an income either by way of employment or by way of self-employment. That income is taxable, and then it has to be by government. So that takes us to characteristic of tax. A tax first must be imposed by an authorized authority, by an authority which is government in this case. It's be based on an income earned by an individual. It could be an income, it could be a gain, as in the case of capital gains tax. It could be an income as income derived from employment or self-employment. It could also, then that takes us to another aspect of tax, where you have, categorization of taxes. A tax can either be direct or indirect. But let's go back to the question on personal income tax. The individual who is liable to tax, as I was trying to give the characteristics of tax. One, it must be imposed by government. Two, it has to be on income. If the person doesn't have income, there's exemption. Then it's compulsory. There's no option as long as you are a citizen of the country. It's a constitutional provision that you just have to. It's an obligation on you to pay a tax. So, and then it has to be certain. So you don't, and that's why you have either it's based on rate, it's based on amount. So it's not a case of meeting someone and said your tax is this amount. It has to be in relation to the income earned. So people in employment, either by government or in the private sector, is structured in a manner that will be easy for them to pay. And that's why it's usually, as we have in our case, through pay-as-you-earn scheme, pay scheme, where on monthly basis, personal income tax is deducted from the salaries of the worker, and it's also gives allowance. It's not the whole income that you earn that is put to tax. Yes, because from that your income, there are things that are deducted before tax is paid to you. You have contribution towards NHIS, you also have contribution to housing. You also have contribution to pension, the pension scheme we have. So, and then maybe towards retirement, one is paid gratuity. So gratuity, for example, is tax exempt. You do not tax gratuity, though it's an income to the individual, but it's tax exempt. The contribution you make in respect of pension is also tax exempt. It's not put to tax. So all those elements have to be considered to ascertain the amount that is put to tax, that is chargeable income. Then the income itself we have tax bounds. It's not, we don't have a flat rate put on that chargeable income. Rather, it's aggregated in a band in such a way that low income earners are not charged on a high percentage. So it's a progressive sort of. So if you have, for example, people, and you also is of course it's important to know that people that workers that earn below 30,000 naira per month are for now law now tax exempt because it is part of government consideration that it should be, allow such group of persons free of the personal income tax. But they are not totally free because there are other taxes that they will be liable to. For example, value-added tax. If you are paid 30,000 naira and government say, oh, you are a low tax earner and we free you from personal income tax, you go to the market to buy an item. If the item you are going to buy or you want to enjoy a service, and if those services or goods are liable to value-added tax, then you pay VAT on them, you pay value-added tax on them. So value-added tax will not have exemption on income of individual. And when you are using that income to purchase an item or to enjoy a service, as long as that service is liable to tax. Now you may want to ask question, what kind of services will not be liable to VAT? Food, for example, ordinary food. If you is not again a packaged food. Do you understand? If you go to the market, you buy your rice from a trader who measures in mudu, in quote, then there wouldn't be a case of payment of VAT in that case. But where again, for example, you go to a restaurant, where they have packaged food, so that food, there is a value addition in packaging the food, and then so in that case you see yourself liable to VAT. So, and to an ordinary person, is if give me the example we're looking at now, where someone's an income earner someone who earns below 30,000, and he goes to buy a luxury, maybe kind of food. So it's a matter of choice. It's his choice to go, and then if VAT is put on it, then you should just pay. So for individual, there are other sources of income to individual that are also liable to tax, because we are discussing individual here. You have an individual who has, for example, a source of income through rent. He has a house that the tenants are occupying, and they are paying either annually or monthly. That rent is liable to tax. If you also invest in a company, in a business, and dividend is paid to you annually, that dividend is also liable to tax. You dispose of an item that is capital in nature, and if it's liable to tax personal capital against tax, then you, of course, you pay, except in each of these cases there are exemptions, but we may not go into such details. So in order to take you comprehensively on this topic, it's also important to note that in our situation here, that is Nigeria, we have 3 tiers of government: federal, state, and local government. And our tax administration is structured in that line. So what that means is that you have Federal Inland Revenue Service that administer taxes for and on behalf of federal government, and of course some element of taxes administered by federal government are also shared among the 3 tiers of government: federal, state, and local government. So you have states, internal Board of Internal Revenue, or you call the Internal Revenue Services, State Internal Revenue Service, and recently we have Federal Capital Territory Internal Revenue Service. So giving us about altogether 38 tax authority that are independently administering taxes. So that takes us to a situation where you have federal government, for example, Federal Inland Revenue Service, or collect some form of personal income tax for some categories of persons or individual. For example, officers in the armed forces and police, irrespective of where they are resident, they paid the Federal Inland Revenue Service administer their personal income tax. So, and then of course, some officers in the foreign service, they also pay to Federal Inland Revenue Service. Then, for state internal revenue service and the FCT, they administer personal income tax of individuals that are resident in their respective states, including officers in paramilitary but not military. For example, in Niger, all persons resident in Niger, all individuals resident in Niger will pay their personal income tax to Niger State government through the State Internal Revenue Service. But that will also include paramilitary that are resident in the state, custom, immigration, civil defense, and all the rest, except armed forces, the Army, Air Force, Navy, and police. Those who pay to Federal Inland Revenue Service. Then a resident of FCT, less the Army, Air Force, and Navy, and police will pay to, less this category, the rest will pay to FCT, IRS. So that is our arrangement. And so that takes us to where people will complain and also of multiplication or multiplicity of taxes, and say people are liable to double taxation. The example I've given you is not example of double taxation, because you have a double taxation where an individual is made to pay one kind of tax more than once, a particular type of tax more than one, like the personal income tax. You shouldn't be seen paying to Federal Inland Revenue Service that's for federal government, and then state government requesting you to pay the same kind of type of tax. So that will give rise to double taxation. Okay, so going back to the kind of taxes that individual will be liable to, I give an example of direct tax, which is on this income, and then you have indirect tax, which will now be on consumption of services. Example, consumption of services or goods that are liable to value-added tax. So value-added tax is example of indirect tax, while payee or personal income is an example of of direct tax. Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you for that elaborate, because it has covered part of my question. But we have the formal sector and the informal sector.
Yeah.
The informal sector, some people believe that, of course, majority of those are the informal sector are not paying tax. I don't know if they are. I feel most of them are not paying, because the few I know, I'm not sure they pay. So, are they supposed to pay? How are they going to pay these taxes? Because their work is on a daily basis. They go to the site to go and work as a bricklayer, as mason, or they go to sell paper at the market, or they go as a mechanic and all that. So, are they paying? And if yes, or are they supposed to pay? How do they make this payment? So how do they aggregate what is supposed to be paid for them to be paid?
Okay. No individual is given an outright exemption from paying tax, either in the formal or informal sector. And to be able to, there are challenges in administering personal income tax in respect of in the informal sector, because one, there are no records in most cases, so you are not able to establish how much an individual in the informal sector has earned, or maybe through trade or whatever. So, and then, like you said, it might be on daily basis. As they are selling, they are using it to buy other things. From what they sell today, some may even have to sell to be able to buy food stuff for that day. In the practical, it's happened. So, a case of, God forbid, living from hand to mouth. So, and then there are no record to know whether his aggregate income will be less than 30,000 per month, as you have for people in the what is it called? In the formal sector. So what government has done is to say, okay, let's come with something which is called presumptive tax regime. Presumptive tax regime is a method which is used in collecting taxes mostly from the people or businesses in the informal sector, where that also is as a result of making people pay tax, because tax is obligatory, and individuals should be seen to pay tax, and there must be that contribution for every person that earns income, and that's why people are not left out in that in the net, the tax net. So in doing that, you come with the regime that says it is presumed that your income is, you may have an amount as a benchmark to say, okay, maybe you are in this, and it depends also on the kind of business. You have mentioned some artisans. You have artisans, you have petty traders in different kind of trade. You have, for example, people that are involved in daily pay, the laborers working on site. You have bricklayers, mechanics, as you have just said. So usually, because they are liable to, they are covered by a state, to be covered by state revenue board. So what the state have designed is the presumptive tax, and usually they are put in association, and then a fixed amount is determined, which they pay annually in most cases. It's an agreed amount through meetings. They use certain measures to ascertain what income, or the amount of income earned, given the nature of their businesses. And it's also important to note that location also is important. People working in cities and towns are likely to earn more than those in the rural areas, even if they are offering this same kind of business. If we take example in Abuja, someone who is on a daily pay, a laborer who work from maybe morning to afternoon, may be able to earn up to like maybe 3,000 or thereabout. That may not be the same in the villages. If you are lucky, you get 1,000 for the same work the person has offered here. So those things will also be put into consideration before you fix a rate for people, for such kind of people, under the presumptive tax regime.
Now, those people,
Yeah.
like I said, are they being approached by officers of the tax authority, or there's a designated place they're supposed to go to pay?
Yeah, okay, good. That is, now you know there is a administration of TIN, that's taxpayer identification number. Every person is compulsory that we all have taxpayer identification number, TIN. Whether you are liable to tax today, whether or tomorrow, because every person is a potential taxpayer. So, and with a TIN, it's even compulsory for every bank account holder to have TIN. And it is, and so that also is part of the question. You answer part of the question: is it possible for people to evade tax if we really want to put everybody to tax? Because you have, with a population of 200 million people, when the record from the mobile phone operators show that about 100 million people have cell phone. So if we have 100 people, that is a very conservative estimate. Some people are saying it's even more than. So, and they all have phone number. So, assuming that phone number is used as taxpayer identification number, we will be able to reach out to everyone. So now the arrangement is to have a situation whereby we have an handshake between the operators in that sector and the tax tax authorities, whereby it will be very easy for to assign taxpayer identification number to individuals. And we have that arrangement with the banks. Banks are expected to request for your TIN irrespective of your status, either as an employee or a self-employed person. What's your thing? So that will you have to go to tax authority, and this time around we've made it very easy, so that even on your phone you can generate a thing. Yeah, there are the solutions are there, and state authorities also have this platform where you can log on to the platform, and then you generate thing, use the thing, go to the bank, and then your account is open for you. So it's not just for new account openers, but I mean for the new account holders, but also old account holders. You have to go to bank and update your record by adding taxpayer identification number thing, so that you have everyone in. Having the thing does not necessarily make you a taxpayer if you don't earn the income that will, that will make you liable to pay the personal income tax. But as I said, the state government have, almost all the states have that arrangement, and they have different method of collecting them, especially in the informal sector.
Before we go to the remittance, you see some at the market, or you see some officials of tax authorities going to meet all these artisans, or at the market to give them ticket and all that. Is it part of the personal income tax? Because since it's a daily operation, daily transaction, so whatever it is, we cannot measure how much you make. So let's give it ticket and all that.
Yes, let's also let me add again. Just like I said before, it depends. I mean, it differs from state to state. Some states, because it's difficult, some states will adopt daily collection because they know it will be difficult to do it either monthly or annually, and that's why the amount will be very small, and as low as maybe 100 naira. So if you pay 100 naira, the day you don't come out, nobody goes to your house to collect the 100 naira, I think. So it's assumed when you come out and you earn income, you have something, so okay, pay 50 naira or pay 100 naira on daily basis. So if you say, for example, you are able to earn, if you earn 3,000 per day or 2,000 per day, and they say pay 50 naira, you can work out the percentage. It will be a very minimal percentage. So, and that is the example of presumptive, maybe some kind of presumptive tax I was trying to explain. So some will say, okay, on monthly basis, and some on daily basis. But let us not confuse that to other kind of levies, rates that state government introduce and administer. Maybe if it's at the cap, at the motor park or car or market, it could be because it's in the law. We have taxes and levy. There is this law. Okay, the Taxes and Levy Collection Act. It's spelled out various categories of taxes collectible by each of the 3 tiers of government. So what you see in that act, for example, the market fee, motor park fee, and perhaps the example, the question you asked relates to that. So they don't necessarily fall under the personal income tax, but there are they relate to their operations in either in the market or in the motor park. And these markets are either financed by state government or by local government. Where you see state government involved, it's where the state government has investment in the market or in the motor park. Otherwise, mostly by the local government.
So you have clarified that there's nothing like
So
that.
it is the act I was trying to mention is
Okay.
Taxes and Levy Approved List of Collection Act.
Oh,
That is where you have list of taxes collectible by each of the 3 tiers of government. Yes.
so you've mentioned that there is nothing like double taxation. That double taxation is if you are paying for something twice. That's double. But we
Yeah.
have a multiple tax
Mm.
system.
Mm.
Now, some Nigerians are, even though it's on record that Nigerians are less taxed
Mm.
amongst the countries of the
Mm.
world, but some Nigerians, because due to the economic situation, still believe that there's multiple of taxation and it's a kind of burden to them. You
Mm.
pay for car park, you pay for general entry, you pay at the office, you pay at this, you pay at all that, you pay at this, and at the end of the day, they feel it's eroding their income.
Mm.
So that is one. Then secondly, probably that is leading to reasons why some people refuse to pay or try to escape the payment of taxation. How are you dealing with this?
Okay. When you say multiplicity or multiple taxes, multiplicity of taxes cannot be seen to be it's not illegal. It's not illegal because I gave example of personal income tax being administered by 2 levels of authority, state and federal. So you can call that. Do you get that? That doesn't amount to double taxation. Okay, and where you now talk of multiple, for example, you have in that act, Taxes and Levy Approved List of Collection Act, you have, for example, under for state government, you have business premises fee, you have shop fee. So sometimes you are confused as to what amounts to or how to differentiate business premises fee and shop fee. So, but you have them, and so that alone, maybe you want to ask question why the same person, the same this that is put to is made to pay that tax, or in the Ministry for Land, especially in some places where the land agencies are, collect some fee rates. You have things like ground rent, consent fee, payment for CFO, and all that, all land-related rates, including tenement rates. So that again, you want to ask question. This all relates to one item. So to be able to solve this, there are policy of government that is being introduced to remove or to enhance administration and to be able to efficiently administer those kind of taxes under harmonization. And state government have been encouraged to harmonize such taxes rather than going to one person more than 2-3 times on similar item. You go to the same shop, you request for business premises fee, another team will go again and say shop fee. Do you understand? Signboard, duties and all that. So you harmonize and then charge. Ground rent and all ground related matters too can be put under this. So is harmonization of taxes, and we are also working. We're also looking, hoping that we, as a country, will one day have an harmonized tax administration system, where instead of having these different tax administration that are seen, that are more or less operating distinctly, with autonomy to operate financially and administratively.
Okay, sir. Now, let's get to the issue of non-remittance.
Yeah.
Are you having issue with, despite the formality of the sector, are you having issue of non-remittance from the formal sector, the civil service, especially?
If I get you right, that is where maybe government officials have collected tax and they don't remit?
Or the government officials are not paying the personal income tax?
That is evasion.
Yes.
Or avoidance. It could be avoidance or other. If it's evasion, it's a criminal offense. And even so, any person avoiding to pay a tax that is liable to is committing an offense. And there are laws, including, there are offenses, and once you are convicted, it can lead you to jail. In addition to fine, you will be made to pay. So it's an offense.
But do you have those issues within the civil service?
Yeah, it's reduced or entirely eliminated, because before you are paid, it's deducted. That's why it's called it's deduction as source, pay as you earn. So it doesn't, before it gets to you, it's your net that gets to you.
How about
So
the private sector?
the private sector too, that have, the law states that if you have employee, if you have up to 5 employees, you should operate scheme, pay scheme on monthly basis, as you are paying your workers, deduct tax and pay to government. Your TV station, you pay in respect of your staff. So I think it's a privately owned TV station. But your question now will come, to answer, you come where you have deducted from staff and refuse to pay.
Yes.
So once the tax officers get to you, you'll be liable, and then you'll be penalized in line with the provisions of the law.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the team, the
Taxpayer identification number.
Now, because it is those who goes to the bank who are bound that will get team.
No.
Because
Okay.
I'm talking of the rural area where there are no banks, the unbound.
Yeah, well, I was just giving an example of ways to generate TIN, and bank is just one of it. People are actually encouraged to visit any tax office to obtain TIN. And I also know that state also reach out to individuals to register them for TIN. They go to markets, go to motor park, visit people in their offices, and they register them for TIN. Yes.
The TIN has it been very effective?
Very, very, yes. That's what you use to identify people who are liable to tax, those are paying. It's just like your bank account number. You can't operate without it. So same with tax. Every person that pays tax is issued with identification number.
So how do you deal with people who believe the tax is not working for them, especially at the rural area?
If you say tax is not working for you, it means there is no government. Government is providing the facilities, amenities, the infrastructure which we use. You draw from Mina to here. The roads you come on is provided by government and is through tax.
That is for those of us who have this divide.
Yes.
But those who are the rural area,
Yes.
the interior,
Yes.
who have to trek where there's no road, especially even insecurity could not even allow them to get to their farms and all that. Because I've interacted with a few.
Yes.
Well, what's the essence of paying all these tax? I rarely get the light, there's no road, there's no this, there's no all that. And it has been a kind of hindrance or discouragement for them paying. So, as a tax authority, what measures have been put in place to reassure these individuals that?
I think what you were talking about here is ensuring that there is judicious utilization of revenue of the tax. So, and there should be social contract between the government and the citizens, and government at every level should be seen to be accountable for all the revenue or taxes generated. So there is no argument about that, because people should account for what they collect. Yes.
I think it's been a very enlightening time with you. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you.
It's nice talking to you.
Okay, yes.